The visibility of an aurora is notoriously difficult to predict. Days before the May 2024 aurora, NOAA, NASA, and a Facebook group specializing in Washington state auroras were making hopeful predictions. That said, just before sundown on the evening of the expected aurora, members of the Facebook group were watching key numbers reported by NOAA and NASA and were posting that the event may not be as big as was hoped for. As sundown passed from the east coast of the U.S. to the west coast, members of the Facebook group began posting positive reports from the east coast. That was good news for those of us in the west. Hopeful, I headed to Snoqualmie Point Park, as did many others. Traffic jams and the like occurred that I'll get into later. People brought telescopes and the usual picnic stuff and set in for a hopeful evening and for some a long night. At sundown, postings included shots of a unique sunset, a result of an unusually high pollen count. The show began. Despite being called the Northern Lights, from where I was, the lights were first visible to the south. Wispy at first, but building up. At its peak, the aurora covered about 3/4 of the celestial dome, from the zenith to the horizon. That, in and of itself, is unusual for the Seattle area. Normally, if visible at all, it's only very close to the horizon, rarely to the zenith, and rarely more than 1/4 of the horizon. Here are the shots I took, the first time I've ever gotten anything worthwhile. Traffic jams were crazy everywhere at good viewing spots. The Facebook group also reported on those to give a heads up to people who had not already secured a spot. I showed up early so to not have difficulty getting in and getting a good spot. Leaving was another story. Even at 1 a.m., people were arriving, parking a mile and a half or so from the park and walking uphill to get to the viewing area. Here are photographs from the Washington State Aurora group, so many of whom are great photographers. The group is great. There are people who read the various technical indicators of an aurora, people who give camera setting advice, but people tend to be quiet about their favorite viewing spots. Here are some of their photos. A few days after the event, people began to find photos of the aurora that looked like animals or other entities, mostly angels. Here are those shots. Then there are the zebra photos. Just before the aurora, a crazy thing happened near where I watched the aurora in North Bend. People were transporting 3 zebras from a petting zoo in Washington to one in Montana. The driver stopped in North Bend to make a small fix on the trailer, and the zebras bolted. 2 of the 3 were quickly corralled, but the third was on the loose for some time. People began photoshopping the missing zebra into various Seattle venues. Eventually, the zebra was safely caught prior to the aurora, but the fun in creating zebra aurora photos continued. And now we wait for the next solar event.